Hi, this is Deborah Sexton.
Peter Walsh with M&R.
This is Scott Ritter with the Decorated Apparel Expo.
Ben Landesman with Lawson Screen and Digital Products.
And you are listening to the Two Regular Guys
Podcast.
Hosted by Aaron Montgomery and Terry Combs.
Excellence in garment decorating information.
All right. Well, welcome to the show. It's Friday, January 25th, 2019. I'm Terry Combs with Equipment Zone. You can also find me at terrycombs.com.
And my name's Aaron Montgomery, and you can find me over at aaronmontgomery.info. Today, our guest that we had previously scheduled, Bruce Ackerman from Printavo, ended up having a bit of a conflict with his schedule. So he was out on the road and couldn't actually make it happen. He gave us as much notice as he could, and we were able to actually get him rescheduled for another show later on because we're excited to kind of talk about organizing and shop management and those tools and stuff like that. So Bruce will be back with us on the 5th of April. So make sure that you're tuning in every week is the best thing to do. But if you were looking for that show, definitely tune in on the 5th of April. But
for everybody that I told at the ISS show last week, make sure you tune into the show. It's going to be really good. April.
And you know what? This show is still going to be really good, Terry, because it is something that I am super passionate about. I know you are super passionate about this too. And so we're going to talk about developing your business plan. I'm trying to turn myself into the guy for that, as far as like, the one that talks the most about it. So I think I'm doing a good job so far. I don't know.
I think you are too, Aaron, and it's something that people desperately need, and as we've talked about many times, very few people do it. So you should be the guy.
Yeah, good. Well, thank you very much. We've got some people already checking in here. We got Marianne checking in. Somebody listening from Cabo. There is a decorators cruise happening right now. I don't know if you were aware of this, Terry, but our friend Joseph from Synergy 17 is real involved in that, and I believe he's on that cruise, and we've got some folks joining us from the cruise. So if you're on the cruise, Good job. You may actually have better weather report than Terry. I don't even know.
I don't know. I've got about 8 inches of sunshine, and it's accumulating, Aaron.
It was 8 degrees here this morning in St. Louis. So
we're going to be 70 here, and next week for the Phoenix NBM show, it's going to be 75 every day. So come on down to Phoenix. Don't stay, just come down.
Yeah. Well, good. We've gotten the part out of the warning from the Ice Palace, -10, where Todd's at. So yes, now that we've offended at least half of the population of the United States, Terry, we can proceed with the show now.
Exactly right.
So start us off with some news or some shout outs. Tell us a little bit about ISS.
Yeah.
You saw there.
Absolutely. ISS show in Long Beach, kick off the year. Really, really busy show the first 2 days. Of course, that show always runs into the playoffs, so it really slows down towards the end of the last day. But lots of folks there, lots of things happening. I did want to give a couple of shout outs. A couple of folks stopped by the booth to say hello and that they listened to the show, love the show. So Tyler Render with Surrender Clothing in Lemon Grove, California stopped by, and Rich Lemieux with Ink It Your Way in Lake Stevens, Washington also stopped by. So we appreciate that, guys, and a shout out to you.
So Terry, I wanted to throw this up here real quick. I think Cindy wins the coldest award today, at least as far as I've seen. If anybody can beat -36 degrees Celsius, let us know.
Cindy needs to translate that for us to Fahrenheit, because we're here in America and we must use Fahrenheit. We must use inches.
Yeah, I'm not sure why we can't get over ourselves with that, but
no.
Cindy's neighbor to the north in Canada there, and
right.
So
that's awesome.
That's probably summer weather for them, though. I'm guessing. I just.
Let's see. 0's 32 Fahrenheit. Okay. All right.
Of course. There was I still talking? Okay, I popped out of the show for just 1 second. So
You time traveled a little bit.
time travel. I'm not even. Never mind. All right. So there was a news item that kind of came across my email box that I wanted to share with everybody here, and I'll tell you why I thought it was important after we get done. Oh, good. Todd's translated for us, Terry.
Oh, that's cold.
All right.
Negative 32 Fahrenheit.
I believe that's what, or maybe that's, yeah. Anyhow. Okay. So here's the news item, Terry. Roland DGA enters the on-demand direct-to-garment market by announcing its first foray into the D2 direct-to-garment printing market. The move comes with the release of the company's first D2 printer, the Roland Versus Studio BT12. The quote goes on to say, Roland has been a key player in the production of graphics for custom apparel and fabric goods for many years, says Lily Hunter, the production manager for Roland DGA Textile and Consumable Supplies Division. She goes on to say, the addition of the BT12 to our production line satisfies the growing demand for a compact, value-packed direct garment printer that offers outstanding performance alongside the benefits of Roland's renowned customer service and support. So, Terry, the reason this stood out to me is that we talk a lot about the fact that if you're not doing some form of digital, you're probably going to be left behind. And to me, these are just indicators that this, people are seeing this. More people are getting into both sides of the market, and so you need to be doing that. But Terry, I know you are obviously very involved in direct to garment on a day-to-day basis. What stands out to you?
Right. So this machine is definitely an entry level. It's CMYK only, so you're going to be printing on white garments or pastels. But yeah, it's kind of I had someone tell me one time, a manufacturer for manual and automatic screen printing equipment. He says, you know what I love is I love those UDOs. Remember those?
Oh, yeah,
it comes with a screen and a stencil and some ink you squirted on there. And he said that gets people involved in the industry. And then if they want to get serious, and they come and see me and buy equipment. I thought, well, this is kind of in that category. It prints, I think, 8 by 11.5 inches, that sort of thing. So definitely an entry level type of machine. But as we've often said, it's just it's the gateway drug to get into the industry, because once you're in, you never leave.
You never leave. Hotel California for sure. Yeah, I mean, that even reminds me, Terry, of back when I first got into this industry, super long time ago. Screen print people talking about the little box kind of screen print, probably like the UDO, probably even pre-UDO kind of thing, where the manufacturers that manufactured the more industrial equipment, the ones that embrace that as a hey. Got them into the business. Now I just got to show them why they need to use my equipment instead, as opposed to they're not even serious kind of thing. So
right,
it's.
I think that was that original one, Aaron. I think was called Speedball. Was that something like that?
Yeah, I think
if anybody
so.
remembers it.
Yeah,
many years ago.
We've time traveled a few too many times since then for me to remember that kind of. Here's a interesting comment, Terry, and I actually did see this somewhere. Can you speak to that real quick before we go much further?
Right. Sharon has asked, did I see somewhere they are getting a pre-treat for polyester for Epson printers? Yes, Epson has introduced a pre-treat specifically for polyester. They haven't started shipping it yet. The last I heard, they were actually in the booth next to me at the ISS show, and they were printing product with it. It's going to be, again, they're saying February to start shipping. Of course, they also told me December. So, but it's not going to be the end all be all. It is going to be for 100% polyester. But remember, a lot of the fabrics out there that are wicking or water repellent, direct to garment printers use water-based ink. So this pre-treat isn't going to be the product that's going to help you with that, but it will help you with 100% polyester. Interestingly enough, once it's applied and printed, you have to rinse it with water. You don't have to wash it. You just have to rinse it with water to wash the pre-treat away, because there's a I don't want to say stain, because it's not really a stain, but a discoloration. But as soon as you rinse it with water, it goes away. But we'll have a lot more information about it here next month once it hits the market, and the Tech Set, Equipment Zone, and other places get an opportunity to spend some time playing with it. But it is available, and Epson was printing with it in their booth all 3 days of the show.
Okay, great, good. Well, thanks for sharing that information, Terry. What about news items that you saw?
Yeah, our friend Greg Kitson, Mind's Eye Graphic, he's got a couple of events. He as a regular presenter of events at his location in Indiana. A couple of upcoming ones are Mind's Eye Graphics in Saudi America is going to have a Pro Screen workshop, and that's going to be March 8th and 9th. And then our good friend of the show, Marshall Atkinson, is doing his workflow optimization workshop. That's going to be April 11th and 13th. So make sure you check that out. You can find Mind's Eye Graphic. It's Mind's Eye, EYE, mindseyeG.com. So, and Greg has a beautiful facility there for having events. So check that out if you're certainly if you're in the Midwest.
Yeah, definitely. And getting to Greg's place is definitely a little off the beaten path, but he understands that, and it's worth it, because you get up there and he takes just fantastic care of you from food to networking opportunities. It's not just about the specific topic; it's everything that goes along with that I think is important too. That sometimes gets
lots
missed.
Of networking.
Yeah, for sure. So definitely worthwhile to get up there. All right, Terry. Well, I want to make sure everybody stays tuned to the very end of the show, where Terry's going to do 5 things today. Improve scheduling production. So we're going to do our best to get that pushed into the show. If we run a little bit long, we may skip it, but I'm sure Terry will still share it with everybody out there in the world via social or some other form, or he'll just tell you if you call him or whatever. But no, we're going to do our best to try to get to that. I'll try not to talk too much. But I do want to remind everyone, and I say I'm trying not to talk too much, and I keep talking. We do want to make sure that you guys that are listening in each week, you guys, this is a community event. This is not just Terry and I talking heads event. This is a community event, and we want you guys participating in this show in any way that you can. We love all the comments, so keep bringing those in, but you can also participate by submitting your own 5 things, and you'll get complete credit for it. We'll link to your website and all that other stuff, which helps you in Google ranking and whatnot. But we've got an easy form on our site. If you just go to tworegularguys.com/5 things, the number 5 things, you can submit your 5 things, and we'll get it on to a future show there. So make sure that you're doing that.
Absolutely. And it's 5 bullet points, no 5 paragraphs, just quick and to the point, and really conversation pieces. But hey, we want to thank all of our regular listeners and any new listeners with us today. If you have an idea for a future show, go to our Contact Us page at tworegularguys.com, or you can reach out to us, as Aaron said, on social media. We are everywhere at 2 Regular Guys. And if you're catching us live via Facebook Live, jump in and participate. We'd love to have your comments, questions, and be a part of the conversation.
Absolutely. And Terry, exciting news for us here that we're just going to tease, because it's still new. We're not going to get too deep into this quite yet, but we do have a new sponsor, and I'm going to pull up their website here for you. As some of you guys might remember Embrilliance from the last year's Reggies. They're Reggie Award winner, and they have agreed to come on as the new gold sponsor for us this year, this quarter. So next 3 months, basically. 4, actually, we're doing 4 months with them. So again, brand new. We're still working on the message and all this other stuff. We've got some pretty exciting stuff actually related to Embrilliance. We've got some really excited stuff related to the people involved and some things like that. So I can't give away a whole lot of it yet, but did want to make sure that you guys go check them out over there. And it's Embrilliance, EMBRILLANCE.com. So yeah, it's in the comments section here. We'll pop that up here as well. So
right.
Very excited.
And when we
that.
say last year's winner of a Reggie Award, we mean about 6 weeks ago.
yeah, exactly. Last year meaning yes. So 2018. We'll just put it at that. That leaves us a nice big window. But again, super excited about that. We do still have some available slots for other companies if you're looking to sponsor and get your word out there in front of this great community that we have. So if you head over to our website at tworegularguys.com/sponsorship, you can see the other details for the other available sponsorship opportunities, and we'd love to have you as part of the show.
All right. Well, Aaron, are we ready to jump into developing a business plan?
I think so. I'm used to kind of having that break cut, but we'll be back to that soon. So yes, let's dive into this, Terry. So I think I mentioned this to you before the show, but to me, I've kind of seen, I don't know, I've been really fortunate to get a chance to talk to a lot of different businesses throughout my career. And the thing that always stood out to me was the people that had a plan seemed to be the ones that were successful. And I couldn't figure out, what the reason why people didn't have a plan, that they went and sunk, in some cases, some people sunk their entire life savings into starting this business. And their only plan was to go buy this piece of equipment and then hope to God they could make money on it. And that's not a very good plan. Not that it hasn't been successful, and I think, you always hear those stories about, oh yeah, just winged it and made it work out. Well, that's not true. They had a plan in their head. Maybe they didn't put it down on paper, but some very fortunate things had to happen. And I think for most of us, needing to actually spend some time putting a plan together, getting it down on paper is hugely valuable to people. And so I decided that I was going to be the guy carrying the torch. Now there's lots of other people out there that speak about this. I know Marshall's a big proponent, you, Eric, so I'm not saying I'm the only one, but I'm saying that I've decided my goal is to make that like one of the number one things that I talk about whenever I talk to people. So what I did was I put together a 5-part video series on the thing I do on Saturdays, Small Business Saturdays, and basically just talked about the 5 different keys to starting a business plan, the key components that every business plan needs to have. And so the 5 original components were, number one being we need to figure out our why. We need to understand why we're doing this, our mission, our core values, all those kinds of fun things. Number 2 was defining the people, making sure that all of the people knew their roles and everybody was on the same page. Number 3, I think I'm going about this right. Number 3, maybe flip those. No, I'm right. Okay. Number 3 was marketing plan, your marketing segment and the marketing piece. Number 4 was your goals and milestones. And number 5 was the budgets, your kind of, I don't know, the accounting piece, the measuring stick. And we'll talk about that here in just a second. And then I realized at the end of that I was missing a big key component. So I always say that my video series is 5 plus a bonus, and that bonus was Terry joining me to talk about an operational plan. I was like, man, the operational piece of this is not something I touched on enough, and I started thinking about why, and I'm like, well, that's not really who I am. But I said, you know what? I know the guy that is.
I know a guy.
I know a guy, and he actually is a pretty darn nice guy, and we get along pretty darn well. So anyhow, we'll get to that in a second. So that's kind of the intro to this, Terry. I wanted to kind of touch on some points that I brought up in those other videos. If you want to head over, and we'll tell you where you can check some of those things out if you want to actually go get more in depth about it. I actually had homework assignments for all 5 of those videos that you could participate in turn to get some free advice back from my wife and myself. So, and just to, kind of talk about it. And I think we'll talk about that here in a second, why this is so important. So,
Well, Aaron, speaking of why, you said you got to get it down on paper, but and it's got to be something repeatable. But how do we go about doing that? The why? Because I think that that's probably something that a lot of folks don't really know why they started a business. And I wanted to make one other real quick point.
Sure.
When you were talking about people without a plan. I don't know how many times we've talked about different businesses that they're successful despite themselves.
Yeah,
It's you must have a really good product because you are going about this in such a bad way.
Yeah, totally. But you know what happens to those people, Terry's, we've talked about that, but then you see them fail, I mean, it happens. So you've got to think about this long term. Yes, you may,
Exactly.
like you said, in spite yourself, get out of the gate and do just fine. But to carry that on into something long term and sustainable, and where you quit your day job, and so I think that's hugely important. So a couple quick comments here. Todd said, just watch the first video and very good. Should we still do the homework if we were watching for the first time? Todd, absolutely. And that is actually the most important thing to me for my why, is that I want to be a part of people like yourself that you're going to take the time to put in the effort and go about the right thing. So any help that, this is why Terry and I get along so well, is that, and Eric is part of our group, and a lot of the people that are in this community, is it's more about helping the other people. It's not about helping ourselves. And so that's kind of the mentality that we have. So the homework thing, you can be catching this in 10 years from now and still go out and do that homework bit. And I will still do my part to give back as much as I can and share what I know. So I just wanted to cover that real quick. I don't know if I even put that up there. So you would ask kind of where do we start with why? And before I kind of go too far into that, Terry, I did want to kind of, so, to me, writing a business plan is extremely easy. It's not this very difficult thing. And here's why I say it's extremely easy, because anybody can do it. You do not need any special talent, skills, or abilities. You need to have an idea. You need to be able to write it down on paper. So outside of being able to write, there are zero special skills that you need to do a business plan. But I think what happens is people get a little scared of it. I think business plans have a PR problem, so to speak, a promotion, so their PR problem is that there's two names for two different versions of things. And I love this. This is fantastic. Marianne says, my business is still around because I didn't give up. We fall and we get back up. And I think that's a huge, I think that's super important. And I think a business plan gives you that ability to fall and get back up without it hurting too terribly bad. So like I said, I think business plans have a PR problem. The true working version that we're talking about here today, is one thing. And then there's this formal one that can kind of feel like a waste of time, that really has little purpose outside of maybe trying to raise some venture capital or get a loan. And in today's world, that doesn't happen as much as it used to, so separating what we're actually talking about here and this business plan stigma that people get, I think is very important to me. So the working version, the one that we're talking about here today, is kind of a guardrail. It's a tool that helps you not get blinders on from the daily grind. The framework that helps you pivot, or as Marianne said, get back up after you've failed. It's that framework of that. So that's kind of my soapbox piece about it, Terry, as far as like why I'm so passionate about it. So should we get into why?
Let's get into why.
All right. Thank you for allowing me to vent there. So here's what I learned along the way here about kind of the why process. I found out kind of the hard way that developing your why, you've got it there. It's kind of in your brain, it, but the limbic brain is something that doesn't do language very well. So getting it out into words is extremely difficult from that standpoint. So what we found is my wife and I, as we were going through ours, was we started with our core values. We at first started trying to write out the why, and we found ourselves kind of trying to develop our why around our preconceived notions of the business idea. And it just wasn't fitting, it just wasn't coming right. So once we stopped, regrouped a little bit, kind of went back and said, what are our core values without any other prejudice of what we were trying to do or any of that? That gave us a really great start, and so I can actually, I've got in my notebook, Terry, you should be very proud of me. I've got this actual paper.
You're writing this down?
On paper. So I'll give you our core our core values that we came up with. So knowledge, joy, connection, health, and persistence. Which, persistence or passion, I guess, would be another way to explain that core value. So we took those core values, and we were able to then kind of much more easily put our why into words. And our why became persistently connecting seekers to knowledge, products, and services to bring joy, health, and the importance of family. So, that's how we did it. We were able to kind of start there and then get your why. And then, so we wanted to start talking about our why, because the why helps us understand why we do it. So as people, future employees, customers, vendors, they can connect with us, and we can connect with the right people that are around that same why. And then all that turns into your mission statement and kind of a great jumping off point to help you make the decisions that you're going to keep making as you go on through this. So.
Aaron, I was in a peer group once, and business owners and managers that from different areas, and I do remember one of them saying, "Yeah, we've been on an 18-month project talking about our goals and this and that," and I thought, gosh, that seems like a really, really long time to figure out who you are and what it is you want to do. But,
no, that's a really good point, though, Terry. I'm glad that you bring that up, because I think one of the other things that people kind of get stuck on is they go, "Oh, well, they have this failure to launch because they are spending 18 months on that kind of thing." All of this is something that A, you should be doing all the time. B, this just kind of guides you to work. And I think even Eric said it in the comments here that he's commenting for us. So having a purpose, no, that was not the right comment. Sorry. the preponderance of people who work in their business, but not on their business. A production is important, but not everything, folks. Planning, marketing, and maintaining the business is necessary. So yeah, this working business plan thing, it shouldn't stop you from going out and, doing your everyday business. You shouldn't put your business on hold for 18 months. It should be just part of the process. You carve out some time to do this, but then you go and make a sale, and you make the product, and you get money, and all these kinds of fun things. So
right.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing up that point, because that's a good thing to remember.
I probably have mentioned on the show before, I had someone call me up that attended one of my screen printing classes, and she said I was in, she said it like everybody does. "I know you don't remember me, but I was in your class 3 years ago." And she was selling her business, and she said, "Hey, make sure that you mention that all the equipment's brand new." I'm like, "Brand new? What have you been doing for 3 years?" And she said, "Market research." And so at some point in time, you got to get out there and sell some products. So,
yeah, absolutely. That's I actually, my Small Business Saturday video last week was kind of successfully launching in that failure to launch kind of theme. And a big part of it was just celebrate the mistakes and do it.
Exactly right.
No, that's
you can't plan your way to having a perfect business that runs smoothly off into the future. So,
yeah, totally.
But Aaron, we talked about the why, your core values. What's next? What do we do in this business planning?
Well, like I said, the next piece is the people part, and this is a kind of a story that always sticks out to me. This was in high school. My dad had a CPA firm, and I would work for him kind of after school and stuff like that. So I was just learning the whole business world at that point. My dad told me, said business can be fun if it wasn't for employees and customers. He was probably dealing with some sort of an employee issue and stuff like that. But to the meaning of that, though, is that a lot of times the biggest challenges you're going to face as a business are surrounding the people and connecting the people. And then those people are the customers and the employees. So if you don't have a good plan for where everything's going to fit together and not everybody's on the same page there, it might not be that you got a bad employee. They just don't know what they're supposed to do, and what's expected of them and where they fit and stuff like that. So I think the next piece of a business plan that's important is really defining the core people. I mean, you don't necessarily need to, but it wouldn't hurt to go, down as far as you need to, but definitely defining the core group of people that are going to be required to run your business. And even if you're a home-based business kind of doing things by yourself, there's still other people that have to help you with that. You can't do every single thing yourself. So maybe you're not actually hiring an employee, but you're probably using a service somewhere to help with something or whatever. There are outside people that help you with your business. And so I think it's really important that you define those people and understand what your strengths and weaknesses are too, to be able to best move forward. So that's kind of the next step. This also does two things for us, Terry. It not only allows us to kind of really understand where everybody's going to fit, but if you are starting out and you're not ready for employees yet, when it's time to actually go out and hire those employees, because I think we've talked about this on our show, Terry, that the hiring process, it's way better to hire when you don't need somebody. Because when you get to that point where you absolutely have to have an employee, or otherwise you're not going to be able to make it another week, guess what employees you're going to get?
Exactly.
So if you don't have that clear idea and plan about when you're going to need to add employees and all this other stuff, that you're going to be challenged a little bit, and you're going to be fishing from a pretty crummy pond. If you can fish from the pond of people that don't necessarily need a job but want to come be a part of your business, your life is going to be so much easier. So any feedback you have about the people there, Terry?
Well, Aaron, and our regular listeners have heard me tell this story before, but my son Chris, when he was in middle school, came to work with me one day, and he was writing that report, what my dad does for a living, and at that time I had 75 production floor employees, and he was sitting there for about 2 hours, and he goes, "Is this your job?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? Is this my job?" He goes, "Is your job to listen to people complain all day?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, that is my job." but and I often tell people that I always ask for a show of hands, who has employees, and a few people raise their hand. I said, "Your life changed forever that day, didn't it?" and because they have different, your employees don't necessarily look at your business the way you do. You have these grand plans of being an entrepreneur, and your employees don't necessarily have that same perspective. But here's something I've always found to be true. The employees will live up to your expectations, and almost all employees who come to work for you come with good intentions, and they want to do a good job. It's your job. I've had people say, my employees don't want to come to work, or they're always walking away from their position or whatever. That's you. That all comes from you.
Yeah.
A company reflects the owner or the manager. And they answer the phone the way you do. They do their job the way you do. So it's all in your hands. And as I said, in my experience, and I've had a lot of employees over the years, they come with the intention of doing a good job, and they want to do a good job. Yeah.
No, that's a great point. That reflection back on kind of the people in charge is. So if and honestly, that ties back to your why. If you're living your why, you're bringing in people that align with your why. It's a lot easier to do things in that regard. You don't have to be the same. Because you want people to have different strengths and weaknesses, but you want to have the same end goal. You want to have the same desire each day. So
exactly, and you have to communicate that to your employees. I mean, they have to know the why as well. So it's
for sure.
Again, it's all on you. So what's next, Aaron? I'm feeling us running long today.
Oh, absolutely. That's it. Whenever it's just you and I talking, Terry, we can go.
I know.
So apologize for those that are expecting this to be neatly packed into our hour, but it ain't happening. All right. So the next key piece, Terry, is we need to do the marketing. We need to do the marketing plan. Excuse me. The first part of any good marketing plan is to just narrow down your target audience by defining a niche. We've talked ad nauseum on this show about niche marketing. We've talked about different niches. I did it again. Niches. So we've done this, gone over this a ton, but having a niche is extremely important. And it's not about kind of shoehorning your business into one place and one place only. It's more about the ability to focus your message that's going out to attract the right kinds of customers coming in that are going to make your business successful. So if you focus on that niche, you're going to be able to focus your ad dollars, you're going to be able to focus your message and be clear and have people understand. And then it's been maybe 2 years now, maybe a year now since we had Brett Bowden from Printed Threads on, Terry, I don't know if you recall. But
Absolutely.
Yeah, he made a statement on the show that we had him on that it's kind of stood out to me for a long time. In fact, I've used it over and over in different talks that I've done and seminars and stuff, is that, they didn't, they were the band guys that, and that's what they were known for. And they became known as the best in that space. And that then led them to becoming the printer for the Dallas Mavericks NBA basketball team. Dallas Mavericks NBA basketball team are not the band guys, but guess what? They heard that they were the best in the space. That's how they attracted them, and they moved forward. So that's what defining your niche really is all about. It's about, I don't know, I guess I've heard other people define it as like looking for a blue ocean segment, a space where nobody else is in, kind of clouding up the issues, So if your niche is to be the cheapest guy in town, you better have something really refined out there, because just about everybody else is probably selling on price that doesn't really know what they're doing. But if you can service an area that's not serviced, the blue ocean segment, then your message is going to be more easily heard. So that's the first part. The second part of the marketing plan is, once you've defined that niche, is to actually then clearly define who that customer is. I've heard lots of different names of what people would call this, a persona, demographic, whatever. The way I like to do it personally is I want to kind of look and write down as much as I can. Basically, I'm just trying to describe a specific person. In fact, I always like to start it off with just naming that person. What name makes me feel the best when I'm looking for the customer that I want to work with. And so I name that person. So it's Terry, and he does, polo shirts with orange embroidered sharks on them. And, he buys one a year. He's happy-go-lucky. He likes to drink a beer. All of the descriptors you can around that person would be the next piece, because what that does for you, that allows you to craft your message so that when you're talking to people, to your niche, you're actually talking to Terry, or you're talking to whoever your persona is, and talking to them in how does this add value for them? Why would Terry want to talk to me? Kind of thing. So I don't know. You can answer that if you want. Why would you want to talk to me? All right. And to kind of wrap up the marketing piece, the next piece of it is to then set SMART goals. And I won't go too deep into what a SMART goal is. And that SMART is an acronym for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, trackable. Just a real quick example of that is, instead of I want more customers, instead the goal should be I want 10 new customers that buy full color black shirts in quantities less than 12 in the next 3 months. So that's what a SMART goal is compared to I want more customers. So those are the three key pieces of a marketing plan from my perspective, Terry. What about what other stuff?
Well, I'm a huge niche market guy, as anybody who listens to the show knows, and here's my take on it. I had a competitor many years ago that their slogan was "We'll print anything," and I thought, man, they're actually promoting the fact that we're mediocre at everything. My feeling on a niche market is, if you focus on one or two or three marketplaces, you can know everything there is to know about that market, and you can own that market. It's very, very difficult for somebody to compete with you when you are so knowledgeable about that space.
Yeah. That's I mean, that is exactly what a marketing plan is all about, is owning that space, owning your niche, and how am I going to do that?
Right, and be recognized for that, just like you were talking about Brett with the rock and roll shirts. So, yeah. But Aaron, we're talking about a lot of planning here. What about the nuts and bolts, the goals and the milestones that we want to pursue? Yeah.
Well, Marianne mentioned something about just kind of continuing to get up and you fail and you get back up and stuff like that. And I think where a lot of people might make a mistake in that is that unless you are somehow superhuman, pushing forward on sheer willpower and self-discipline is extremely difficult. I mean, think about, the diet that you wanted to go on, the exercise plan that you wanted to do. Are you able to carry that forward at all times, no matter what your kind of ebb and flow is? And for most of us, I think the answer is probably not. You don't, because, and here's what I've learned from the research that I've done and listening to folks about it, is that it's just our biology as humans that we're driven to go find dopamines. And what happens is, if we don't have a clear goal or a clear understanding of where we're trying to get to, our brain just goes, oh, well, you know what? I'd rather just, Netflix and chill instead of go work on my business tonight, or I'd rather, do whatever. And that's not to say that we're bad people and that we can't, have willpower and we can't, push forward. And I think you can do that a lot of times, but it's so much easier to push forward if you actually have a very clear goal laid out for yourself, because then your brain goes, okay, I can see what I'm getting to. I know where I'm trying to head. So I am going to push off this immediate, thing that I could do right now of watching Netflix. And instead, I'm going to do something that might not be rewarding right now, right here, but I know down the road it will be rewarding. There was a book that I read called Take the Stairs by Rory Vaden. And it really boils it down to getting a crystal clear picture of our goals. Our brains think in pictures, not black and white. So just an example here, Terry, if I said the word Thanksgiving, what do you see in your brain? Do you see the word Thanksgiving, or do you see something else?
All right, exactly. I see the Caribbean, because that's what I do every Thanksgiving
Correct.
with my boys.
Yeah. Or some people might, get that sense of, oh, the turkey smells good, or, I've got my family, or maybe there's football in the background. Like you said, you've got the Caribbean, because that's when you say the word Thanksgiving, that's what your brain goes to. Right. Well, because of that, we have to think about ways to make our goals kind of stand out to our brains, that, we say that our goal is this, but he's got a technique that he calls VAST, VAST. And what that stands for is visual. What specifically do you see when you reach your goal? A stands for auditory. What do you hear in the background when you reach your goal? S stands for smell. What does it smell like when you reach your goal? Marianne says she sees pumpkin pie. She probably smells pumpkin pie or tastes it, and then T is touch or taste. How does it feel? So I guess the best way, the goals to visualize, and goals are really the visualizations of what our why is. It's the clear picture of the place we need to go to achieve our definition of success, because my definition of a success is different than Terry's. As much as we get along and we are kind of on a good wavelength together, what I think is a success is completely different than what Terry probably does, So, and that's not to say either of us are right. That's just that we're all going to be different. So we need to visualize what our success metric is, and that becomes our goal. So that's one. The second piece of that you said, Terry, was goals and milestones. So milestones are slightly different, and some people might call these objectives or the tasks along the way. And these are the specifics of how you're going to get there. So again, the goal, the milestones kind of maybe are the SMART goals in where we get specific. So maybe the goal is to have enough business to quit my day job. And you've applied the VAST to it and done all that stuff. The objectives, the milestones are what needs to happen along the way, the stepping stones to get there. So those are goals and milestones, and those are, to me, are a big part of kind of laying that groundwork for your business and seeing where it's going to head.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, Aaron, all the planning in the world is one thing, but what about the money? You've got to have, you have to have budgets, things like that to make all this come together.
Yep. And this is where all the people that are accounting minded really get excited. And I am not one of those people. So this has always been the hardest part for me, which is hilarious. My dad was a CPA for 25 years and I could care less about the counting of beans, yet my dad enjoys that to infinity and beyond, kind of thing. So, but as somebody who's not into that kind of thing, I do feel that it is really important. And it's not necessarily about the budgets from a accounting standpoint, though having this in place will really help make that a lot easier for you. It's more about a measuring stick. It's more about a way to say, with specificity, am I successful? Am I meeting my goals? Am I reaching the steps that I need to make? So by having a budget, it gives us that measuring stick to go, okay, here's my budget. I was planning to make X number of sales with this kind of costs. And then I review that and I go, ooh, didn't quite make that. So now I got to go back and tweak, pivot, so the budgets are a measuring stick the way I see them. So that's one. The second part is that we all think of budgets and we do think of money. James Ortolani commented here, show me the money. And I don't know if he's talking to you, Terry. If you owe him some money or something.
I owe him nothing. Gratitude for being my friend all these years.
James, good to see you, by the way. So the money part's certainly important, and that actually gives us something that we can measure. You can at the end of the month go, do I have enough money to buy the groceries because of my business or not? So that's all there. But the other part that I think we miss sometimes is we have another finite resource in our lives that we all complain about, and I know I complain about it a ton, is time. How much time do we have in our day? And I think having a time budget is also equally important to your business plan. So here's kind of a way to look at this, so you kind of got your plan, but especially when you're starting out, you're going to be the janitor, you're going to be the production manager, you're going to be the production person, you're going to be the marketing person. So you've got to lay out all of those things and actually have time for it. So you can kind of see, okay, yes, I budgeted, an hour a day for marketing. Well, guess what? In that hour a day, how much time did you waste watching the cat videos or, responding to emails because you also had your email open or whatever happened? But that's your marketing budget. That's your time for doing that. So if you're not measuring and tracking that, you're going to end up going at the end of the week or end of the month or end of the quarter, whatever your plan is, going, man, I spent an hour a week on marketing, and yet I'm not getting any more sales. Well, can you go back and go, was it really an hour a week, or was it 10 minutes a week plus, 45 minutes of cat videos and 5 minutes of time wasting? So that's the other part. Money and time should be measured. And then finally, I guess the reminder is, don't use these as a way to make yourself feel bad for failing. That's not what this is all about. It's really more about overcoming our unconscious mind that we talked about slightly, to keep us from watching the cat videos, to keep us from spending the money on that app that we didn't really need for our business, whatever. So it's not about a way to kind of say, oh, you failed, you're terrible, beat myself to death. It's more about a way to go, okay, let's be realistic with ourselves. Let's consciously think about what needs to be done to get to our goals. So that's kind of the last piece of the 5 pieces that I kind of put together up front. And then, like I said, I realized very quickly as I was going through this that I'm still missing a big part of a key factor for a business plan. And that's the operational plan. And like I said up front, hey, I know a guy. So I know a guy, Terry. Can you help us with the operational side of this?
Absolutely. And Aaron, let me jump back to what you were just talking about. Sure. with your planning. And I took I think it was about a 10-week, it was one night a week for 10 weeks, a business management seminar. And this was several years ago, maybe 20 years ago. But one of the projects we had was we had to chart every 15-minute block of our entire work week, just with a quick note of what I was doing for that 15 minutes. And then we gathered all that information and broke it out into, I spent 20% of my time doing this. And what I found was I was production floor manager, plant manager. I was spending 60% of my work week in some level of scheduling production. And And so the instructor said, is this some really technical thing that you need to do? And I said, no, I've got formulas that anybody could do. And she said, well, then why don't you have someone doing that? And so immediately I went back and hired a part-time employee who came in and did all the production scheduling, put the whole schedule together, and it freed up obviously more than half my week to be doing management things. So that's a project anybody can do. It takes a commitment, but just a quick note every 15-minute block. What was I doing? Not a paragraph, 3 words, or 2 words or 1 word. So
no, it's perfect, because that's a budget though. I mean, people don't realize it.
Exactly.
I think we want to complicate things too much when we're talking about a business plan or budgets or all of these kind of what feel like a little wider terms, but this is all we're talking about. We're not talking about going crazy here. We're talking about doing these things, working on those specifics. So you may have not called what you were doing a time budget at the time. I don't know, maybe you did, Terry, but you had that process, and I think that's huge. So.
Right, exactly. So everybody has homework.
Exactly.
When we're talking about planning and in production, one of the things is, for this next year, how much more am I going to be required to produce? And now, do I have the capacity to do that? Or either do I need additional employees? Do I need additional equipment? Or do I need to be better at what I'm doing so that I could do that additional work with the people we have? And again, I apologize repeating to all of our longtime listeners. I come back to estimating production time. And estimating production time means I have to be realistic about what I am capable of doing. I can't schedule, I can't plan based on what I wish I could do or what those guys out on the production floor ought to be doing. It's got to be based on what I'm capable of doing right now. Then you start assessing, how am I going to make that? How am I going to improve upon that? And there's steps involved in, again, tracking for a screen printer, for example. Track how much time those presses are not running and why, and chart it out. And you might be really surprised. Maybe it's because every order that whoever works in your warehouse, they pull every order wrong. And so you're constantly going back to get things, or the orders come back to production and they're not really complete. You see the order and it's sitting there, and all of a sudden it says, I'll let you know quantities on Thursday. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait a minute. So in fact, my shop, no order got on the schedule that was not entirely complete. And that drove the salespeople crazy at first. And then they realized that everything was much more efficient once those orders were completed on the schedule. And I did, in fact, have a salesman say to me one time, hey, I had this new puppy. And I'm like, are you going to tell me that your dog ate your homework? And he goes, yes. Can you squeeze this into the schedule? My dog drug it under the couch. So anyway, all the planning out there on your production floor all comes back to estimating production time, being realistic about what you are capable of doing. So that's my take on that. Aaron, look at us. Yeah. We actually squeeze this into an hour.
we by the skin of our teeth there. We're going to go longer. We've got a few more things to cover here, but
sure.
No, I mean, this is great, Terry. And again, like I said, there's we could dig into probably each one of these sections and make it a full show. Maybe we'll do that someday. But
sure.
Here's the basic rub of it. Whether you really think you do or not, just the act of doing these things, of thinking about these things, of setting some new policies in place, like you said, with, from a salesman's perspective, yes, that would drive me freaking crazy. It's like, I'm working on that, but we got to get this going. It's an important customer, but at the same time, I also understand that, when I don't have a complete order and we're at this point, we've opened ourselves up to so many points of failure that we're probably going to be screwed anyways. So, let's get it right to start and go forward. But all of these things that we've talked about here, I think, are really huge to somebody's business. And if you want to go watch the full videos, it's over at aaronmontgomery.info/SBS videos. I believe where you can kind of start. But I'll put some comments in the Facebook group here too, and I think Eric did earlier link to it. And as Todd said, the homework options in those videos that I had there are my email address is Aaron, AARON at Montco Consulting. So reach out to me there once you've had a chance to watch the videos. That opportunity is open to you as long as you need. So I'm looking forward to that. Terry, should we do 5 things? Let's squeeze it in.
Let's do, Aaron, because it really ties into what we're talking about here.
I agree. I think that's huge. So it's all you, sir. Go for it.
All right. 5 things to improve scheduling production. That's a huge thing for me, and it should be for you. Number 1, be realistic about what you can accomplish rather than what you wish you could accomplish, like I was just saying. Number 2, understand what causes downtime on your production floor, no matter what type of production you're doing. Number 3, make a conscious effort to fix downtime and do it one issue at a time. You can't repair the entire production floor in one fell swoop. Number 4, communicate your fact-based expectations to your staff. And then number 5, communicate your realistic schedule to your customer instead of asking, when do you need it? If you understand where you are, you can have a schedule that reflects that.
Man, you just hurt me. Just tell me when you need it. We'll get it done. No worries.
Wrong.
Darn it. All right. I got to fix that. Again, folks, we love bringing the 5 things, and I always love when Terry's got his, because it is stuff that you can go and put into practice like right away, basically. We want them from you too. So again, get to 2regularguys.com/5 things. And then you can make sure that you're part of the show too. We also want to tell everybody that joined in today and all the comments. We had some fantastic ones that we didn't even get to. So if you are listening to the audio version of this, make sure that you go into our Facebook page, facebook.com/2regularguys, and look at the videos, go look through the comments, make comments after the fact. Even if you're not catching the live version, we love to have your comments, and we try to kind of keep actively involved in all of that as well. Terry, there's another person that you met there at the show, Rich.
Rich Lemieux, yeah, absolutely.
So thanks for joining us.
Glad to see you there.
All right, Terry. Real quick, couple things that I've got coming up here, and then we'll get out of here. James says, "Okay, back to the cat videos now." So, so as I mentioned, this kind of thing evolved from my Small Business Saturdays that I've been doing on Saturday mornings. So I've got that again tomorrow morning, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. Tomorrow I'm going to kind of talk about the anatomy of a Facebook boosted post. How to get the most value out of the money that you spend on Facebook advertising. So we're going to talk about that. Also, I just wanted to kind of a couple of weeks ago, I had a gentleman join me on there that he's a certified strength coach, and from not strength like working out, but finding what your personal strengths are as a person. So anyhow, he talked about all of those things and how we can focus on our strengths and stuff like that. So I was so interested in that topic that I actually immediately signed up to take the strength test. I did that a couple nights ago and went through it was about a 45-minute process of going through a whole bunch of questions and evaluating a bunch of things. And but it was really kind of eye-opening, and I got the results. But better yet, Dan is going to meet me here in just a little bit, and we're going to go have lunch. But then after that, I'm getting my coaching session with him. We're going to spend an hour just kind of talking about the results, figuring out how I can put those to use in my life and business ventures. So check that out. Sharon, the Small Business Saturdays over at my Facebook page. And so it's facebook.com/AaronMontgomery.info. I will put a link in there to and the video segments up so you can get a reminder. Try to get that over. So that's what I got going on, Terry. I've also got a couple of DAX seminars coming up, developing a business plan, where I'm going to be going into what we talked about today in much detail. And that February 22nd is when both of these are happening. Being customer centric equals more profits is the other seminar I've got going. Terry, what about you? I see your list is still as long as it was before. So I feel for you.
I hope one of your strengths is going to be to continue doing a podcast. So let me know later today.
Yeah, exactly. We'll find out.
Aaron, I have 3 events in a row in Phoenix. I'm going to be doing my first screen printing class of the year at Workhorse Products. That's Saturday and Sunday. And January 31st, I'll be hosting the Epson F2100 DTG class at the MBM show here in Phoenix. That's the day before the show opens. And I'll be exhibiting with Equipment Zone on February 1st and 2nd there at the MBM show. And then DTG Academy is going to be February 7th and 8th. It's a Thursday, Friday event, talking all about the direct-to-garment process, plus selling the product, that sort of thing, how to market your products.
Nice.
And then February 16th and 17th, I'm going to be going to Chicago. I'm hoping it's going to be really warm there in February to Atlas Screen Supply. I'll be doing my complete screen printing business course there, and there's your fingers crossed. And Aaron, you and I will be at ThreadX at the end of that, February 17th and through 19th. In San Diego. That's SGIA's ThreadX. Really excited about that. And I've got a couple of seminars as well at DAX. One is going to be put your new screen printing business on a path to success. And the other will be the DTG process and finding that perfect niche market, Aaron.
Nice.
You can find absolutely. You can find all my events at terrycombs.com under the heading tour dates.
Man, that's kind of sucks about the niche market thing, because I actually want to sit in on that, but I'm actually doing my seminar at the same time, so we'll be battling it out for people.
I know it's not a popularity contest, but I'm going to be counting.
Yeah, I wonder if we can figure out how to just join them together. And you're just going to have to go to one in Kansas City and then go to the other one in Minnesota or Chicago, I guess, is the only way to solve that problem.
Hey, Aaron, I have to throw in real quick. I know we're over time, but I remember when you and I were doing a seminar together and somebody in the front row was texting, and then all of a sudden somebody ran into the classroom and sat down next to her. And her text was, "Hey, who are those guys you're always talking about listening to on podcast? They're doing my seminar." So she left her seminar and ran into ours.
That's Kessa, I believe.
It is.
Yeah.
Right.
We've been fortunate to really meet some awesome people along the way. So thank you guys. And we love it when you come up and say hello. That's a huge kick for me. I know, Terry. So hopefully, and I know you
me
feel
too.
the same
Me as
way.
well. Absolutely.
Real quick, back to my thing tomorrow, Terry. Again, like you said, we're going over, but that's okay. Todd had mentioned Right Page this week, and so I just wanted to give people some context for that. So the hilarious part was last week we were talking about kind of successfully launching and celebrating our failures and taking the failures and using them to improve and learn new things and grow. And my failure was I posted the Small Business Saturdays to my personal page, not my business page. And so I'm sitting there doing it and I'm like, there's nobody here. I'm talking to myself. What the heck is going on? So anyhow, I got all the way through it and then realized, oh my gosh, it's on my... So I downloaded it, learned something about Facebook premieres, took the opportunity, celebrated the failures, and still was able to get it out there. So yes, Todd, I think nope. You know what? I know I double checked. I got it right this week. So it will be there. Terry, speaking of DAX, our show producer, who's been in the comments section and keeping everything going for us. Really appreciate that, Eric. He's a little under the weather today, so send him well wishes. But February 22nd, he's going to be teaching the Digitizing Difference, Foam Gradients and Performance Wear at the DAX Kansas City show. And then the next day on the 23rd, he'll be teaching patch making for fun and profit. So that's February 23rd. Again, we'd love to see you guys out at DAX. I am on my list to I want to try to put together a meetup after after the party that DAX always has. So we'll see. That's on my list. We'll see if we can get that pulled off. If anybody knows a good place to host such a meetup around the airport there in Kansas City, I don't know anybody that used to live in Kansas City.
Myself.
So anyhow, we'll try to figure that out. But make sure you get in and register for Eric's classes as well. I think we're done, Terry. I think we've done it. Again, if you want to participate in my videos and do the homework and stuff like that, again, my email address is Aaron, AARON, @montcoconsulting.com. And check out those videos over at either my webpage, aaronmontgomery.info, or at facebook.com/aaronmontgomery.info.
And
great
Aaron,
time.
I'd like to, also like to thank again Eric Campbell, our show producer. You can find him at ericcampbell.com. And special thanks to our new sponsor, Embrilliance, and the family of products there. Stay tuned for more information to come on some pretty exciting stuff over there.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. So I think we're going to try to get that happening by next week, but we'll see. So it's in the works. It's going to be awesome. So just stay tuned. Next week, Terry, we are going to be, this is a fun show that we've done for a couple of years, I think now.
Right.
We've got Teresa Egel from, who's the executive editor of Wearables over at ASI. And she is going to be discussing the state of the industry from an article that they produce over there at Wearables. And we're excited to get her feedback on stuff. So
absolutely, lots of cool facts and statistics, and a great show for you guys to listen into. But as we said, we're over time. So until then, I'm Terry Combs. He's Aaron Montgomery.
And we are the Two Regular Guys. Thank you for listening to Two Regular Guys. Check out our website at tworegularguys.com. That's the number 2, regularguys.com. You can also interact with us over at our Facebook page, facebook.com/tworegularguys, or send us a tweet, twitter.com/tworegularguys. And we have a YouTube page. You can find all that from our website, tworegularguys.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to spending some time with you again next week.